If you've ever mucked around with a flashlight before, you probably already know that direction can drastically change how something is perceived. And that is the topic for part 1 of the lighting series, direction. So, if I was to ask you, what is this shape? You say, it's a circle. What if I said, what is its 3-dimensional shape? Well, you probably couldn't tell me, right? Because we can't see its form. And the reason we can't see its form is because of the lighting. Now you might guess that it's a sphere, but it could just as easily be a cone. It could be a flat disc. It could be a cylinder lit from the top. It could be some weird wobbly shape, or it could be a sphere. So the new information that we're getting on the right-hand side there is shadow. And that shadow is created by the direction. The direction creates the shadow, which helps us understand the form. So the first lesson and very important point to remember is that you shouldn't fear shadow. Shadow is your friend. It's just as equally as important as the light, because without the shadow, we're not able to understand the form. We're not able to actually see the image to which you are trying to perceive. You're not able to understand things, right? Or to give a more practical example, say you went to the trouble of creating this hulking dude. You spent all these weeks and months, sculpting out the pecs and all that kind of thing. But then you lit him like this. That would be a mistake. Lighting from the front is the easiest way to flatten form. And unfortunately, we can't see all that detail. If we moved that light to the top left-hand corner, it's only then with the introduction of shadow that we're able to understand its form. You're able to see the shadow underneath the pecs, the six-pack, the veins in his arms, the bulge. It's revealing all this information to us, which we couldn't see before. So the shadow is incredibly important, and that's all done by the direction of the light, obviously. However, if you have ever looked at yourself in the mirror before you left the house and thought, looking good, or looking as best as I'll ever look, and then caught a glance at your reflection in maybe the elevator mirror, you probably also know that shadows can sometimes be undesirable. So shadows will reveal form, but it can also reveal undesirable forms if you're not careful. So let's talk about it. Starting at the top with the first light, which is flat front lighting. If you put the light directly behind the camera, aka flash lighting, this is why flashes on cameras typically make things look flat, you get this effect, right? We can understand that it's a face, but not much more than that. We're very good at recognizing faces, so we know it's a human, but how big is her nose? Is she Pinocchio? We don't actually know this. Like, how far back is her ears, or the cheek definition? We can't see a lot of information here. We're just sort of almost seeing like a trace outline of basic features. That's about it. However, having said this, yes, it's flattening and it's pretty undesirable for most cases. There is situations where you would want to light from the front. And you think about it. Say, for example, you were photographing an elaborate costume or something like that with a unique pattern, and you just wanted to show the pattern. You wouldn't want to see shadow. You wouldn't want to see the form. You would just want to see that pattern. Or maybe you were doing a photo shoot for somebody with a tattoo, where the tattoos were the focal point. Maybe you don't want to see shadow. You would use flat lighting. So very rare, but there is cases where you would want to have flat light. So that's lighting from the front. Now watch what happens if we move that light up and just slightly back. We now have something much more desirable. So this is called Paramount lighting or butterfly lighting. I want to avoid just giving you these terms, because then you're just sort of remembering the word Paramount. Oh, that was cool. How do I do that? And instead of learning what it's actually doing and why it's desirable. So this was, I guess, created from Paramount Pictures, which is where the names comes from, as just very glamorous lighting. But the reason it's glamorous is because you're giving just a small amount of shadow, so you can see just like how big the nose is, the lips, the chin. Obviously, there's separation between the head and the neck, the cheekbones, but most importantly of all, you are still able to see the eyes, which is crucial here. So for many reasons, it is used a lot in fashion photography, fashion, beauty, glamour shots. Now, this example here is using a lot softer lighting, which we'll talk about in the next part. But the position of that light is what's important here. It's creating just enough shadow just so that you can understand the face better, but not like undesirable shadows. And also, by the way, I should say that this is relative to the direction of the head, because we're talking about the light on the head. So if your shoulders are facing here, but your head is to the side, then if you had the light directly above, you would have totally different things. So it's the light is basically above you like that, wherever the head is turning. That's what we're talking about here. Anyway, so let's talk about undesirable. If we move this light back just slightly, we now have something horrible. And this was that example of when you look at yourself in an elevator reflection and you got these hard circles underneath your eyes. Very undesirable, because obviously the eyes are the window to the soul, and we can't see them when the light is coming directly into it. They're the only thing thrown directly into shadow, which is horrible. It also is going to highlight a lot of shadows in it, like the crow's nest. Very undesirable way to light a face. But something else, and I only just noticed this just the other day, but it also makes the face look like something else. And think about it, look at it. What does that kind of look like? It looks a little bit like a skull. So I got no proof that this is why it has this kind of effect, but it does look like a skull. There's no eyes there. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's probably part of it, but I would say most of all, it's just, highlighting the wrong things and not being able to see the eyes. But there are cases where you might want this, like if you're making a movie like Star Wars, and you've got Darth Sidious, if that's his name. I don't know if that's his name, Darth Sidious, right? Who I think they used makeup. They actually emphasized it even more, so that even when the light was like coming underneath him, his eyes were still like dark pockets, right? Making somebody look evil, it could be desirable in that sense. You want to make them look dark, almost dead, like a skull, go for it. There are also situations where for the environment that you're in, it would make sense to have light coming directly above, like in this scene from the Zodiac where they're sitting across at a restaurant and there's like a pendant light directly above them, right? You got to sort of think about the situation and the style of movie you were making, but in that situation, maybe it would make sense to have dark pockets under the eyes. Even then, though, you can see they've used a soft light and maybe a little bit of fill so that you can still actually see the eyes in there. So anyway, it's not good. It's called raccoon lighting sometimes because it makes you look like a raccoon. Pretty undesirable, pretty much the worst thing ever. But anyway, now if we move that light even further back, then we see even less information. Now all we can see is the silhouette. And this it's used a lot in movies for obvious reasons that you don't know who the character is. So at the start of Blade Runner, when Ryan Gosling invites himself into this guy's house and the guy arrives and is like, oh, who is this person? He's an intruder. Is he here for ulterior motives? Is he friendly? Is he foe? We don't know. And it's kind of like a mysterious sort of look. Later on, when you meet Harrison Ford, the exact same thing. He's in silhouette, and it's kind of, I think it's undesirable because as humans, we want to be able to read someone. We want to be able to identify them and read their expression, and not being able to see any of that is very chilling. It's like friend or foe, like who is this person? So, again, might make sense for if you're making a movie, but if you were, I don't know, trying to show off a character that you sculpted, this would just about be like the most impractical or like not revealing anything useful to the viewer at all. Okay, now move the light around to the side and you have what's called split lighting, which is obviously half half the face in light and the other half in shadow. And really, I feel like this is just a combination of two things. It's revealing something and it's hiding something. It's not showing too much form. We're not seeing any form like underneath the cheeks or like the eye ridge. It's kind of flattening from the obviously one side of the face. But it's sometimes used when, I guess, you're trying to make somebody look like they've got something to hide. I don't know if that's reading too much into it. It might be. It's called split lighting because it's just split, but there's also cases where a character is sitting next to a window in a movie and you've got split lighting. I don't think it's necessarily evil, mysterious, whatever. I just think it's hiding something, but it's revealing something, and that's about it. Now, swing that light around way underneath and you have the classic torch underneath the face that you tell scary ghost stories with. Now, I was kind of interested in this because I first heard about this effect from the Universal Principles of Design book that said that the reason that this looks unnatural is because we live on planet Earth where the sun is always above us, and so having light coming from underneath us looks it doesn't look right. However, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't know if that's true, because the bounce lighting is a thing, and light hits the ground and bounces off it. So we sometimes have light coming from underneath us. So I'm like, why does it actually look creepy? So I even asked on the Psychology Stack Exchange. I asked on Ask Science on Reddit. Didn't get really any responses. Some people on Twitter did though. And somebody pointed out that it does kind of look like a skull, which I think is true. That nose shape there, it's the exact shape that you have with a skull. It's the empty, because cartilage deteriorates, so you have like an empty hole in your face, so it makes it look like that. And then obviously it's used in movies for horror films. Horror, scary, that kind of thing. Somebody else pointed out that it's kind of like it's highlighting the brow of the eyebrows, which can kind of make you look angry and mad. So I think it's like, you're not able to kind of read their face. It kind of makes them look mad. They're kind of like a skull, and it's unnatural because light usually comes from above us. So therefore, it's just unpleasant. Try walking into a job interview. Hi, how you going? And shine like a light underneath your face. That's a terrible example, but you're gonna be off-putting for a number of reasons in that situation. Anyway, swing that light all the way to the top left-hand corner, and you have what is just neutral light. It's you're able to understand the face very well because you've got not only from above but also from the side just a slight amount of shadows in all the right places that you can best read the form pretty well. That little triangle on the cheek there is sometimes called Rembrandt lighting. Don't want you to remember these terms. Just think about what you're doing to the face. It's used a lot in movies, right? Because it's just a neutral way to show a character underneath the ceiling light or underneath the environment light, whatever it is. Obviously in this example using soft light, which we'll get to, but yeah, it's there was a note in Universal Principles of Design that said that 75% of paintings in the Louvre have lighting coming from the top left-hand corner, which I don't think necessarily means it's like the secret thing you got to do. It's probably also a sign of maybe the painters are all right-handed. They didn't have artificial lights. They had to do it in the daytime, so therefore the light had to come through a window or something. I don't know. But anyways, it's just an interesting tidbit I thought I'd throw in there to waste your time. Anyway, so light direction. When it comes to faces, it all depends on what you want to say. It's a catalog. It's not like any of these things is wrong and you should never do it. It's going to be right and wrong depending on the circumstances. You're making a movie with a creepy character, do all the weird creepy stuff. If you're trying to make somebody look desirable and interesting, then do all the good stuff, right? So depends on what it is you are going for. Now, when it comes to environments though, because obviously environments are totally different to faces. Faces is more about psychology. Environments is, you're showing an environment to someone. So it's still about form. So when I made this picture, I deliberately put the sun in the background with harsh shadows coming across the that rock face there, because the tutorial was on cliffs, which you could watch if you wanted to. But I really wanted to detail that rocky cliff face, so I positioned it there. But most of the time when it comes to environments, it's more so about just time of day and signaling that, right? So when it's noon, obviously the sun is directly above us, it's hot, and it generally tends to flatten things because of the volume, right? We're not able to see the shape of these trees very well. It's just kind of flat and harsh, and it says more to me about like, ooh, heat and like off-putting than really much about form. Later in the day, as the light reclines into the lower into the sky, you get a lot more interesting shadows, and we'll talk about this in the next part when we talk about like the golden hour. But this is where you can really basically change where the shadows are appearing, and when you swing that light around, you're really emphasizing different parts of the image, and you're guiding the viewer to different things. So this is why I think that lighting, when it comes to environments and architecture, it's more so about the composition and where you're guiding or unintentionally guiding people to just through the light direction. So I think that's more important than really like form, although that does play a part as well. To use another example for architecture, so this is just like blue lighting, and you're just sort of seeing it from a neutral sort of view. It's blue, it's morning, whatever. Maybe there's a bit of feel and atmosphere from that. But throw a light in the background, and now you're looking at the corridor in the background, looking straight down the right-hand side there. Move the light over, and now you're looking at the chairs, right? So you're guiding the eyes to that thing. Get rid of the sun altogether, and then turn on some countertop lights, and now you're looking at the food on the counter, right? So it's more so about composition than it is really about form, although obviously there is some form in there as well. If things were completely blinded flashlight from the camera, then you wouldn't really be able to see or understand things very well. But mostly it's about composition. So environments, yeah, form, mostly composition, as I just said. So remember though, the takeaway from this video is not to think of these like recipes of like, oh, what was the Paramount lighting? You know, like remember that direction is creating the shadow, and the shadow is revealing the form. And it's gonna reveal form, and it might be an undesirable form if you're not careful. So you wanna reveal the right forms. Think about what message you're trying to say, and then what shadow is going to reveal that the best way. Okay, so that was part 1, guys. Hope you liked it. In the next video, we're going to be talking about size in part 2, which you can click there and watch. Or if you're watching this at the time that I'm uploading them, they're going to be every week, so you might have to wait. Click subscribe so that you get notified when it is released. And if you liked it, guys, please give it a thumbs up so that others can find it as well. And I'll see you in the next video.